This is Steve, the Cookout Coach, and you're listening to the BBQ Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the really big barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important in the world of barbecue and grilling. This show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA. Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and variety show. If you want to get in touch with the show this evening, if you want to follow the show socially, although I'll give you that information in addition to this, here's all that stuff.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, the newly, hotly revamped website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter coming up in about 13 minutes from now. The rarely happening but often hotly anticipated open segment, and on the longer side. So as this date was drawing near and my collection of stuff, housekeeping items to get through continues to build, I saw this date as being open, considered booking a guest, and said, you know what, let's leave it open. Worst comes to worst, or I'm gripping 48, 72 hours before tonight. I'll try and backfill it with a guest. But let's leave it open and see what happens. Maybe I can get through some things. As not luck would have it, the middle of next month is going to look weird. We're going to talk about that next segment as well. So I've allotted time for me to talk and for you to listen and interact with. So that's what's happening first. After you get done with me here in the open, a lot more of me next segment. But everybody loves that. Then, 35 past the first hour. We missed him last month, but he's back for his normal segment. The creator of DerekRiches.com, Derek Riches, who has gone and done it again. Blown the very foundations of the live fire community off of its roots. That's not even a saying ever. What am I trying to say? Has shook the very foundations of the live fire community once again in 2023. Did it the first time ever in 2022, a year removed, give or take. Has once again reshaken the very foundations, put a crack in the cornerstone as we've come to know and love the live fire community. Have I teased it enough? We'll leave it at that. That'll close the first hour, move to the second hour, and because it's the fourth Tuesday of the month in the second hour, you know it's not one but two segments with the embedded correspondence. Now, as I'm setting up the embedded correspondence segment, we lead off that portion of the hour with the 100% assurity questions. By the way, assurity is not a word. That is a Rempeism, I believe. So through your grammar checks, spell checks, if for whatever reason you decide to put that in text, know that you're going to be alerted that that's wrong. And you might say, well, how could that possibly be wrong? This professional host that I listen to every Tuesday on the internet is saying a surety multiple times during the course of a year, at least once a month, many times. And why is it telling me it's wrong? Because it's not a real word. It's made up. A couple weeks ago, I said a phrase, fancy footing around. Also, nobody's ever said that ever. I know this because my daughter came home and said, hey, you were mentioning Steve on the show and you said something about fancy footing around. What does that mean? I don't know what it means. I'm talking in a stream of consciousness. While I do have outline, sometimes I script out questions that I want to ask specifically. 90% of this stuff is coming right off the top of my head. I don't want to sound like a dimwit. And somehow I'm able to manage words and sayings that are on the cusp of, is that something that's really enough for you to not question me mostly? But the guy that used to question the show the most, who's now in and out of listenership, depending on what kind of mood he is, John Dawson of Patio Daddy-O Barbecue out there in Idaho, used to keep a list of Rempeisms, and I've never gotten them from him, which that's my fault. But a surety is not a word that I can assure you of. Saying a surety is grammatically incorrect, both audibly and through text. So when you get that alert from Microsoft Word or Google Docs or whatever the hell it is you use to make your papers and lists and whatnot, when it says, that's not right, that's right. The program is right. It's not a word. And fancy footing around is also not a saying. Don't ever say that. I can't believe I said that, but it just happened, but I didn't mean it. Anyway, we continue on. As I set up the surety questions for the embedded correspondents and myself to go answer, I usually like to keep it in that 4, maybe 5 range, but tonight I just let loose. They were just coming rapidly. And I said, tonight, we're not going to put a limit on 100% of surety questions. We'll allow the people that are watching to interact as well. We'll read some of their stuff. And if that takes the whole 2 segments, then so be it. That'll be the way it goes. And if not, we have plenty of other topics to dig into. So, long way to go to tell you that the second hour is what you've come to know and love. And the fourth Tuesday, the embedded correspondence segment. Don't forget, you can follow me socially on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and the never-checked Snappy Chat at BBQ Central Show on all those. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms, Facebook or Twitch/BBQ Central Show, or you can catch it over here on the YouTubes, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where we are also asking you a new YouTube poll question of the week, which is asking you this. And be honest, don't lie like I know you wanna. Nobody thinks you're cool or not if you don't know the answer. I'm asking because I have been doing this for so long, sometimes I think a name that I know is something that everybody else knows. Whether you're a greenhorn or whether you're a grizzled vet, jaded, experienced live fire veteran. Sometimes I know names. I just know a lot of names. I've been doing it a long time now. So the question is this. Before last week's interview, you were 100% aware of who Byron Chisholm was. Yes or no? And currently, and I'm happy to say, but who knows how it'll go for 2 hours, 70% of you are saying yes, you knew who he was. Which, by the way, means 30% of you are saying no, you didn't know who he was. And to me, living in my own vacuum, that's shocking that 30% of you would not know who a legend of barbecue is in Byron Chisholm. Nevertheless, we will continue the poll. I will ask myself next segment if I know who he was before last week's interview, and we'll ask our guests as well. So let's start here this evening. There was a ton of reaction to the press release from Meathead over at AmazingRibs.com last week about his book being delayed until the spring of 2024. Oh, I'm sorry, 2025. And while we will touch on it ever so briefly, dare I say tenderly, in the second hour during the Embedded Correspondence segment, we shall remain patient because I have revealed that next month we will ask Meathead for all of the detail. Well, not next month, but well, yeah, I guess that would be next month. It's July. We're so close to July, but we're still in June. So next month, as I said, we will ask Meathead himself on exactly what is going on with this book being backed up to 2025. So save your questions. I'll have a full interview with him. In fact, I'll probably tell you more about it next segment. Tim in D.C. is writing, and Greg, I thought Byron Chisholm's interview last Tuesday was great. I had no idea he was such a great amateur motocross rider. I checked out his YouTube story after the interview. That was great as well, but I had not heard of Butt Rub before, and I will be grabbing some of that at my nearest retailer ASAP. Thank you for the introduction to the legend that is Bad Byron. Thank you, Tim in D.C. 64% of you are now saying you do know who he is. So quickly, the scales are tipping. And don't lie. If you didn't know him, just say it. We're all big boys here and gals. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures. We love that you can get really hot temperatures for traditional grilling. But you can't get two-zone cooking in the round ceramic cookers. Why? Because, of course, they are round. And I believe, as Meathead has said on more than one occasion, he's the one that pointed it out to the vast live fire public that if you have a ceramic cooker and you want to set up a two-zone fire, you can only do it in one cooker. What one is that? Primo! That's right, PrimoGrill.com. Because of the game-changing and patented oval design, you can build a fire off to the left or off to the right, and then you can put your proteins sans coals on the opposite side. True two-zone cooking. Now, they have accessories as well. Pizza oven insert. They have a Primo Grill rotisserie. Not only that, here's the latest that I'm not even getting updates on, and I'm going to have to take issue with Nick Bauer. They now have a Primo branded automatic pit temperature control device. I forget the name of the manufacturer they partnered with. It's not Barbecue Guru. It's like Flame Boss or Pit Boss, or one of those. But now it's a package you can buy. So if you don't want to, if you want that connected cooker feel, but less expensive and Primo branded, why not check them out? Only sold to dealers, PrimoGrill.com. Follow them on all the social media channels, and we'll be back with me right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by CookinPellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You visit CookinPellets.com and check out what they have for sale. And then once you find the blends that you so desire, go to Amazon.com or Lowe's.com or Walmart.com. All fledgling little websites. Yes, we know. Maybe they'll make it. And to find their way into making it to a successful business career, they offer great shipping rates that the CookinPellets.com website cannot offer. But because CookinPellets.com is a vendor to those locations, Those folks are able to give you great shipping rates, sometimes shipping included. So find what you like at cookandpellets.com. By the way, I have it on good authority, and by good authority means I have an advanced bottle in my hands that cookandpellets.com is coming out with their own steak rub. So if you're looking for a new steak rub or a additional one to add to the arsenal that you already have, go to cookandpellets.com and wait for the drop, or send CB an email and said, hey, Rempy's already promoting the new steak rub that you have out. Put me on the list to notify so I can go over and buy when it's ready. But it smells great. I haven't used it yet because I literally just got it yesterday. But it smells great. I'm looking forward to using it on steak the next time I cook it, which will also be done on that new Charbroil electric cooker to verify results that I got the first steak cook around. So we always have to do everything at least twice on something new before we can really give an honest opinion. So that's where you want to go, cookandpellets.com, and then buy off of walmart.com or lowes.com or amazon.com. This was coming in from Smokin' Joe's Pit Barbecue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's show. Welcome to tonight's show. Let's welcome our host, a man who's in love with Sam the Cooking Guy's knives, and the boner is his personal favorite. Greg Rempe got a boner. That's right. Look, I'm friends with Sam. I like Sam as a human being. I like the entertainment value that he brings to the show, of course. However, strictly speaking, as a consumer and a appreciator of knives and what they can bring to the culinary table for those that are both professional or aspiring home chefs, having a singular great knife is magnificent and is important for safety. Well, sharp knife is for safety, but having one that feels good and you can count on, holds the edge for a long time, all of these important things. But then, for Sam to have created a set of cutlery, small Santoku, a Nakiri knife, the chef's knife, this huge 10.5-inch knife, I don't even know what the hell they call it. It's like a small machete. And I'm using it I use it to cut very wide cuts of protein because I can just drag it across and it makes the cut. I don't have to like recenter it and get through the other half. It's very large. Also, the bread knife or the slicer. And then you have the paring knife. And now, of course, the new knife that Smokin' Joe's Pit Barbecue was referencing, the boning knife or the boner as we call it. All of them are great quality knives. I have no stake in Sam's knife business. I get no kickback. He sends me knives for free, but he doesn't ask me to promote it or whatever. As someone who has handled these knives for months, some for years, they're great. So if you like Sam and you like great knives and you're in need, then I would certainly suggest doing it. And I would say the one I use the most is the chef's knife. That one fits best in my hand, but all the handles are roughly the same. So if the handle fits good from one knife, then there's a good chance. The smaller knife, like the paring knife, I'm not a big paring knife guy anyway, so I could do without that one. But the slicing knife, the boning knife, the chef's knife, the big-ass machete knife, the Nakiri, the Santoku, all great knives. Big fan. Folks, and then there's this. Uh-oh. Is there a cat piss update that's coming? Yes, of course. Why? Because I can't seem to get rid of a cat. Of the 4 that I have, the one. And now we have it dialed in. We know who it is. How do we know who it is? Because while my cigar smoking pal, Jeff Andreezy, sent me his hunting cam number of months ago. I don't know if you remember that. After we had the assassination of my soundboard number of months ago, then it was like in the beginning of the year, and then there was like from February until March, or February until June or July before the next set of new mixers were coming in from Sweetwater. I found the one on eBay, saved, thank God, and I've built this great protector over it. We were trying to figure out which cat it was. We thought it was between 2 of them. And I was blaming the wrong cat But we have figured out it's the really FAF or fat as F cat. We call him Snickers. Now, how do we know it's him? Because on multiple occasions since the assassination of my soundboard, that fat F has peed in the house right in front of us without regard. Like, hey, everybody watch me. I'm going to pee in the house. Not marking, like peeing. I'm not going to say it's like full on quarts of piss, but he's peeing and it's on the wall. I mean, like, it's gross. By the way, this isn't a fancy way for me to make sure that nobody ever asks me to visit. Did you think my house is going to smell like cat piss? I mean, you're not wrong. But we do a really bang-up job. One thing that we have become very expert at is cleaning cat piss in the cracks and the crevices and off walls and on the carpet, finding out which products that are made to take the cat piss smell out of those said areas as well. Spot cleaner with the suction and the wet cleaning thing, blah, blah, blah. Carpet cleaner, home-based. So we have a whole process when it happens. But this morning, I get a text message as I'm in the office trying to sell a truck, which is rare, from my wife. Text message out to everybody. Snickers just pissed on the stool, carpet, wall right in front. I'm like, did he do this in front of you? Yes. I can only hope. I said, well, look, the cat's got to go to the vet. We haven't brought the cat to the vet in a year, maybe 2 years, because the cat has got anxiety through the roof. So as soon as you put him in that carrier, what does he do? He pisses in the carrier. Of course. I mean, he pisses everywhere, so why wouldn't he piss in the carrier? And then he's a maniac when he gets to the vet, breathing. The vet's trying to take his, listen to his heart rate. She's like, I can't even get a beat on him. He's getting ready to stroke out. Like, from your lips to God's ears, lady. The best thing that could happen to me is this cat dies on the table. That would be great for all of us. You could charge me an extra $50 to get rid of it. I can go home without it, and the house doesn't have to get pissed on anymore. How about that? It's a win, win, win. But he continues to live every night. I go to bed. Before I lay my head down on my sweet pillow and I say, Dear Jesus, show me that you're real and make Snickers die overnight. And you know what? That cat is still alive every night. And every day. There he is. So, I called up the vet. I'm throwing caution to the wind. I mean, if he dies on the way over to the vet, I'm looking out for the cat's best interest here. I've made an appointment July 7th on a Friday at 8:30 a.m. I'm going to pick him up. And the worst comes to worst, if it's only me and him in the house, I'm going to swaddle him in a number of really crappy towels. And if he pees in them, all right, it's not going to get on me. We're going to go to the vet. If he makes the transport alive, I can only hope, because he's getting up in age, that, and I'm going to have to shuck out bucks, which I hate to do for any stupid cat, because you can go get a cat for free on the side of the road every day of the week and twice on Sunday, $0.00. We're going to have to get blood work done. And we're going to have to try and see. We're going to hope, and gang, I'm going to need you to hope with me. We'll cross all fingers and toes that the cat comes back with the degenerative kidney disease, which is incurable, and we can immediately send him out to the put-down booth, and that'll be it for Snickers. So if we can all hope that that's the case in like a week and a half from now, then I would certainly appreciate your positive vibes on the ultimate demise of Snickers. But of course, that probably won't happen because I'm not that lucky. But that's your latest cat piss update. It is currently still happening in the house. But it's not on the mixer because I have fashioned this great. That's the most important thing. The show's able to happen. Who cares if my whole house smells like cat piss? Who cares? If you come over to my house and you go, hey, what's that cat pissy smell? Well, that's what it is. That's cat piss. As I had mentioned in the show open, the middle of next month is going to look a little weird as it relates to show. So specifically July 11th, which is, of course, that Meathead segment that we were talking about, talking to him about his book. And then July 18th, so those two middle shows, I'm going to be out of town in Houston, starting the 8th and doing the show remotely. So obviously I have the gear to do a remote show, technically speaking. It's not an easy feat to actually perform the show. Not because I'm not in the studio. The downside of the technology here is, in order for me to host remotely, I would have to use up one of the guest lines, which is fine. I would be coming in as a guest and then coming out like this, except I would be like I did it that one time when I had to do the show when the cat pissed on the mixer, right? The bigger issue or the bigger logistical hurdle that we have to clear is I actually need a human here in Bomb City, USA to hit buttons and click things on computer screens to engineer the show, I think is what they call them, to engineer. So I don't really have an engineer. I think both kids are going to be out of town at that point, or they'll be, passing over each other on the 11th or the 18th, one or the other. And to be quite honest, I don't know if I have a lot of desire to teach them how to work things, because if it's not happening just the way that I want it, that's really going to bug me. And certainly I would appreciate their help, but I also have an expectation or standard that I would like to have. So my question is, in lieu of a live show, which is probably not going to happen, it's still up in the air, maybe, but probably not, because, again, having to have somebody here in Cleveland, it's not the me being in Houston part. I have a microphone, I can connect in, all that stuff. It would sound great. But having the live human here presents a problem on a multitude of levels. So, in lieu of that, what would you rather hear? Would you like me to lay down some pre-recorded interviews with the guests that I had booked for those shows, and then either not do live shows and then pump those into the podcast feed on that Wednesday and Thursday with the best ofs on Friday? Or, in lieu of that, would you like to have two best of shows? So I'll go through, shows this year, shows last year, take this segment because everybody liked it from this show and another one from this show, and combine like 3 segments in each hour and have 2 best of show back-to-back weeks. So the better question is this: would you like 2 shows of what I think have been really great content over the last couple of years, and you hear it again, and for those that have never heard it before, you'll be hearing it again for the first time? Or would you like to keep the content new and just have it released in a pre-recorded sense? So that's what I would like to hear from you. You can weigh in on the YouTube chat if you would like to. I'm not going to put that up as a poll, because you can ask me, or you can tell me one way or the other how you like. But that's what I would like to know from you, the show faithful. Alan F. already saying reruns is a good idea, so we'll have to see. Johnny Maggs is asking, would you smoke that cat spread or running position? I wouldn't smoke it at all. It would go right into the burner.
Get that big stuff out of here.
Bill Rempe writing in, best of 100%. All right. By the way, I didn't open the segment with my YouTube questioning me. All right, so let's ask me. Before last week's interview, did I know who Byron Chisholm was? No lying. And I can tell you that I absolutely knew who Byron Chisholm was. For well over a decade, I knew who Byron Chisholm was. I actually knew about him when I first got in and just had my own barbecue forum, if you can believe that, back when that was hot technology. 54% of you are saying you did know him. 46% are saying no, you didn't know him. So we are trending closer to 50-50, which I thought would be more the case. Actually, I didn't think that would be more the case. We are getting closer to 50-50 when I thought it could be a boat race for Yes You Knew. So once again, being surprised on the results of the YouTube poll question of the week. Jeff Andreezy is in for best of. What about John doing a live show on the best moments? Well, here's the problem, Alan. I still, in order to do a live show on the 11th and the 18th, there has to be a human in Cleveland. And this human is not going to be in Cleveland. Connie Rempe, the best of would be best. All right. Another one there. Calvin in Washington State is writing in. Greg, big fan of the show. I've been listening for about a year or so. If I might ask a question. In the open of the show each week, you mention Cleveland as both the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, self-explanatory, and you also refer to it as Bomb City, USA. Forgive me for not knowing or being in on the reason you call it that. Do you mind schooling me in this area so I can be part of the group that gets the reference? Podcast listener only. Regards, Calvin. Calvin, that's a great question. And once again, I would hate to just assume that everybody knows what that means. So in order, Calvin, and for the rest of you who have no idea what it means when I say Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city and Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, like what that means. Does anybody even know what that means? Do you think I'm just being funny like a clown, like I amuse you? Well, let me tell you. In 1976, Bomb City, USA was born. The year Cleveland became Bomb City, USA, when I was 2 years old, Cleveland was the most bombed city in the United States. The assassination and vandalism bombings that had been on the rise throughout the decade culminated in this particularly violent year, leading the national news to dub Cleveland Bomb City, USA.
Bomb City, USA. Cleveland.
Brian Ashman is right, Danny Green. According to a Plain Dealer article from this era, bombing business booming here, Cleveland's national ranking in bomb crimes had skyrocketed since 1974, the best year ever, by the way. The main cause was continued gang war between the Italian families and Danny Green's Celtic Club, group of Irish-American gangsters. Car bombs were a preferred method of assassination because the evidence was often destroyed in the explosion, leaving police with no leads. Although Green allegedly contracted car bombings for years, the turf war escalated after the unexpected death of Cleveland mobster John Scalish in 1976. Scalish's choice for successor, James Licavoli, did not sit well with the Cleveland underworld. As a result, armed traffickers and drug peddlers John Nardi fought to control for Cleveland. Green allied himself with Nardi, helping take out a number of Licavoli's followers and bloating the number of car bombings in Cleveland. Throughout his criminal career, Green had commissioned dozens of car bomb assassinations. Some of these bombings were carried out by Green's go-to bomb expert, Art Snurpenberg. According to Rick Perello, if the bombs grabbed headlines, Art got paid a bonus if things got on television or in the newspapers. Of course, Snurpenberger died when he self-detonated on Halloween night in 1971. And in an ironic twist of death fate, Denny Green was also killed in a car bomb. Yeah. Prophetic, really. Right over in Lyndhurst, which is just west of Cleveland, or west of Mayfield. I go through there all the time. He was at a dentist appointment, and he went back in, got into his car, and Danny Green blew up. Boom, just like that. So, why do I say Bomb City, USA?
Bomb City, USA.
Because Cleveland loved their car bombings between 74, bloating, and 76. How about that? Now everybody's in on the joke. Look at this guy, Doug Durda. Stop setting your river on fire. That joke is so old. Stop having your Hall of Fame quarterback rape women. How about that? I can go back to the same joke that you can go back to the same joke at, Doug. Come on. All right, Derek Riches is ready to go. Are you tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? You're damn right you are. It's time to step up that game and bring the ultimate flavor and ultimate cooker to the backyard barbecues. What's that? Pits and Spits Charcoal Grills, offering the highest quality live fire cooking experiences that you can get in the market today, using either wood or charcoal or both. These solid fuel grills produce the classic flavors you're looking for when you have the time to fire up the grill and cook for the whole family and all the friends. The king of the cul-de-sac, that's what they call you. With a large adjustable fuel tray, you can raise and lower the fire to control and fine-tune the heat. This, of course, is Pits and Spit's take on the very popular Santa Maria-style grill. Let me tell you this. I don't often refer to any grill as being sexy. The charcoal grill is sexy AF, and the AF stands for as friends. Okay? If you haven't seen it, go to pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show. Go to Charcoal Cooker and look at that beauty. It's amazing. Now look, don't get all freaked out by the price tag here, okay? This isn't a 2-season POS grill that you're just going to shit can and buy a new one for $1.380 that following season. This one you buy, I don't know, is it $3,000? Okay. You buy it, you can use it next year and 40 years from now, and then your kids can use it and pass it on to their kids. It's an heirloom. This is quality. Now get pumped up, get over there, and buy 5 or 6 of them. Give them away as gifts. You'll be the hit of Christmas and every other holiday. Why not? Pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show. Use promo code Charcoal Central, all one word, Charcoal Central, for $150 off any charcoal grill. Do it now. You'll love it.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard and the Fireboard Spark. You can monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously with the Fireboard 2. You connect to Wi-Fi, cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth. It is compatible with most smart speakers. Fireboard.com is the place to go. 816-945-2232 to ask any and all questions about Fireboard 2 or the Fireboard Spark or whatever else they got. They're there to answer your questions. It's the 4th Tuesday of the month, and that means we are going to welcome back our pal, a Barbecue Central Show guest, Hall of Famer, and somebody we missed last month, and we're happy to have him back. It's Derek Riches. Derek, before we get into why you evaded us last month, I'm putting the blame solely on you, even though it was my fault. We're going to ask you the YouTube poll question of the week. Before last week's interview that I did, you knew who Byron Chisholm was, yes or no?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? 56% of the voting public was aware of Byron Chisholm before that, which means 44% were not, which means to me that my listening audience is either A, younger than me, or, God forbid, or they are just getting into the industry. Maybe they got in during the pandemic boom. They found the show. They're in love with my entertainment and monthly segments with Derek Riches, but just don't have the background that you or I do on some of these legends. As I said in the open, I shudder to think that names that I would just casually throw out or drop as big names, what percentage of folks that I would walk around and mention them to would go, I have no idea who that is. What do you think?
Oh, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. But I mean, I've known Byron for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. We've had a lot of email back and forth over the years. But no, you're right. There's a lot of people in the barbecue world, and they might be pretty niche for either where they live or what they do, and a lot of people don't just I don't know aren't getting introduced to them enough.
Byron, on his YouTube video, the autobiography, whatever you want, documentary, says that Butt Rub, the Rub, has generated $50 million worth of sales over its lifespan. You believe that?
Yeah. I mean, it's been around for a long time. And, it was a big mainstay of so many barbecue stores and stuff. Being one of the first that was kind of like commercially distributed, to the hardcore barbecue community. That sounds like a lot of money. But I guess if you divide it out, maybe. I mean, I'd take that, but
yeah, no doubt, I would take that in a heartbeat. You have done it again. You have set controversy, a buzz on the internet. Last year, you did it for the very first time. This year, you have decided to double down. Now, what am I talking about? Last year, you put out a post on your website, DerekRiches.com, that said, I don't know if it was the top 5 or if it was a top 10 most popular barbecue and grilling websites. And we talked all about it. Was that 2 years ago now?
I think it was 2 years ago.
I think so. Now that you're mentioning that.
This is the third time I've done it.
So, well, maybe I missed the very, very first one, but I remember.
No, I think you missed last year.
Maybe. Oh, shame on me for doing that. I'm sorry, Derek. The very first one, I was introduced to Joe Clement over at Smoked Barbecue Source. That was the one that seemed to be the lightning rod for a lot of folks going, well, okay, everybody seems to know Hey Grill Hey, Susie Bullock, blah, blah, blah. See her all over the place. But number 2, Smoked Barbecue Source. Like, what the hell is that? And then you go to the website, and not that it's not a great website, but it doesn't seem to be something that stands out from a visual or an aesthetic standpoint as being avant-garde, or I don't know. But there it was, and we talked all about it. And so this year, I see a post, or earlier, a couple weeks ago, I see a post, and here it is: top 10 most popular barbecue and grilling websites here in 2023. So I thought we would go over this list. But before we do that, why don't you refresh us on your method of arriving to these top 10 websites?
Let me put it this way. This kind of started out from a conversation I was having with somebody about like who's big in barbecue. And this is probably like 4 years ago. And I had been doing some consulting with somebody who paid a lot of money for very detailed metrics of the most popular barbecue sites and who was getting traffic. And it was very niche. And, there were NDAs involved, and I wasn't to like reveal the data, but I kind of worked a way around to reconstruct it from other sources. But the thing of it is it's like, I'm looking at this list, I'm looking at the data that this company has, and I'm going, most people have never heard of these people. So let's throw that out there and kind of see what the reaction is, because, that's just it. There's people who are, creating content and you don't hear about them, or you don't know about them, or, the Byron Chisholm, and 44% of people have no idea who you're talking about. That sort of thing. So that's kind of where that came from.
Can you be, obviously, I guess the answer is yes. Can you be popular and not be known?
Yeah. Actually, look, you go to the grocery store.
I want to sign up for that. Products. I want to be popular and not be known at the same time.
Oh, yeah. It's like rich and famous. I'll take rich, please.
Yeah, of course.
I don't need the fame. I don't care. But you can be very successful, with a website, with the YouTube channel, on TikTok or whatever, without necessarily making it all about you, without being kind of the lightning rod of attention. And there's just a lot of people, that's what they would rather do. They don't, they're like, I'm enthusiastic about this. I want to create content about this, but nobody knows who I am and nobody's going to care who I am.
So I think where the thing that I can't wrap my head around that is, I understand what you're saying. They want to be behind the scenes, or they want the brand to be out there in front and center versus me as an individual doing it. But to that point, then I should know. I should have heard about smoked barbecue sauce, or I mean, on this list that you've just generated, 1, 2, 3, 4, half the list I've never heard of in my life. Not even in passing with some of the most knowledgeable people that scour the internet and know live fire, but never have mentioned these sites ever.
That is one of the surprising things. And look, if 85% of your traffic is coming from somebody putting in a Google search, that doesn't exactly create brand recognition. People are going to your site, they're using your content, they're engaging with it, but it's not, it's not a brand, it's just money. It's just traffic. That's kind of what it is. And it is still possible to do that in this world.
So how are you arriving on these top 10s? What's your process?
So I still have access to industrial ComScore data because I still do some of that kind of consulting, and there are people that are like, hey, look through these numbers, tell us what you think, and I still do that sort of thing. What I do use is a variety of metrics, which I've kind of, there's things like SEMrush, and there's some different website traffic monitoring systems out there that people can actually get access to. And I've written out the math to weight different things in different ways to reproduce what the best metric analysis is coming up with without revealing the data that I'm not legally allowed to share. Or I could share, but the cost to me would be astronomical. I don't like lawsuits. I avoid them. They've been bad in the past, so I avoid that sort of thing.
Would your numbers correlate to? I always hear about the Google stats being the end all be all of true traffic. So are your figures or are your data, do they correlate to what a Google would be?
It's not a direct measurement. Google Analytics, what you're referring to, is basically a way of getting real-time reports about what your website is doing. It tells you who's visiting your site, where they're coming from, how long they're spending, that sort of stuff. And you have to install that into your website to monitor it that way. So this is more like Nielsen ratings, which measures people and their habits using the internet, as well as a number of some of the internet server arrays through which that traffic travels. There does get to be math involved, but it's done through sampling. So it would be analogous to, how successful a local radio station is doing in your metric or how popular a television show is. It's not a direct measurement of everyone. It is a direct measurement of enough people to give you good numbers.
Coming in at number 10, we're working our way up to number 1. Long distance dedication coming up at number 5. Our pal, Jess Pryles. JessPryles.com.
Yes.
Now, I'll have to say, I'm shocked that she made the top 10 list.
Wasn't there last year? Was there 2 years ago, I think, and kind of came back in. Jess is doing so many other things these days. I don't think there's been a ton of update to the website, but there's a lot of content there. So, she's working with different groups and doing lots of different stuff. So I don't know how much the website is like core to her business, but it's still performing really well.
Number 9. And let's start the list of people I've never heard of. Or Whatever You Do at orwhateveryoudo.com.
Yeah, that's this is Nicola and Jeremiah Johnson. They've been doing this site for...
Why do I know that name, Jeremiah Johnson? West Coast guy?
It was a movie. It was my dad's favorite movie, as a matter of fact.
Oh, I know this guy. Hold on. Jeremiah. Yeah, Jeremiah Johnson. So I was communicating with this guy. I have to assume this is the same guy. It's barbecue related.
Okay, probably is, yeah.
From August 31st, 2011, he put together an interview with the show and one of the lead rapper of Moonshine Bandits, Big Tex. How about that?
Yeah, that's new to me. They've been running the website, I think, now about 5-6 years. Heavy pellet grill oriented. It's just been kind of steady there. It just kind of keeps plugging away. This is kind of it's been like between 8th and 11th place for like 3 or 4 years now.
That's what it looks like. Or whateveryoudo.com. So, kind of everyday ham and egger look. Maybe WordPress, something like that, probably.
I think most of these sites are WordPress sites.
Number 8. And another one I've never heard of. Give me some grilling. Ever heard of it?
Yeah. So, Evink.
Jason and Julie.
EVINK.
Right here.
Jason and Julie. They had, she had a really successful food blog from a million years ago, and they kind of wanted to venture out into outdoor cooking. So this one came up. I have a date for it as 2018. And it's been pretty consistently where it is now. Yeah. People you don't know, but they've been plugging away at it. Got a lot of content there. And, I'm not, like I've said, I don't judge the value of the content, just how popular it is. And that's not a knock. I'm not trying to.
No, I get it. Number 7, Food, Fire, and Friends. Never heard of it.
This has been around for quite a while. So this is a guy out of England. Got big into barbecue again about 5-6 years ago. Put up this site.
Mark Jenner, founder and chief editor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark Jenner. It's been kind of. It was actually like a top 5. It's been kind of slowly losing traffic a bit relative. So there's a bit of an English push on it, but it's a pretty broad topic.
All right. Number 6, Cat Heads Barbecue. Never heard of it.
Yeah, this is really new. So Cat Heads Barbecue was a catering company in California, and due to events of the last couple of years, kind of had to get out of the catering business. So they just took like a decade of food catering, live fire cooking, barbecue stuff, and turned this into this website. It's about 600-700 pages of content. It's big. It's got a lot of content to it. Just popped up there real fast. My suspicion is that it popped up there because it was new, because so much went into it so fast. My feel is it's going to fade over the next year slowly, but that happens a lot with the way the internet works.
The next one at 5, dropping 2 spots from the last time I remember, and one who probably many people think would be number 1 is AmazingRibs.com. How can we be at number 5?
Because that's where it's at. Goldwyn's been around. He's been doing this for 15, 16 years. It's a big site. It's got a lot to it. It hasn't had a lot of updating to it in the last 5 or 6 years. So a lot of the content is, as far as the Google search engine goes, it's not fresh. It's not new. That's kind of, I think, what's hitting it. So, but yeah, it hasn't been, it was number 1 maybe 5 years ago. Hasn't been there since.
Number 4. Here's one that I have heard of, finally. Vindulge.
Yeah.
That's Mary right there.
Yeah. It started out as kind of like wine and grilling and just grew into a whole ton of barbecue stuff. They've got a book, they've got a lot of content, a lot of video. Actually heard from Sean, her husband,
Yeah.
Mary Kressler and Sean Martin. I heard from Sean this morning, just like, hey, thanks for mentioning. Good to hear from you again. And Vindulge has been pretty consistent in the whole business.
Number 3, right back to never heard of it. The Online Grill.
Yeah, this is
very generic looking. Okay, it's
a very generic look. There's a ton of content in here, a lot of product reviews, a lot of recipes, a lot of information.
Original content, Derek?
It is, because I checked. Yeah. I mean, nothing comes. I've checked all of these, and nothing comes up as plagiarized. That doesn't mean that it's not sourced from other places and rewritten. Because 99.9% of the internet is sourced from other sources and rewritten. That's, of course, 99% of books are sourced from other sources and rewritten. Yep. So that is our world. I also did some checking for AI generated content, and none of the top 10 are dumping AI generated in yet. We'll see what, a year from now, this could be very different. We'll see how that plays out.
They could make that a little bit better.
Online Grill is a little bit different because it's run by a guy named Ben, and Ben's profile picture is a stock image off of Getty. So I don't know who Ben is. I don't know what Ben looks like, but it's constantly updated. There's a ton of content there. It's constantly being worked on.
All right. And then number 2, number 1 haven't changed, at least the last time I checked. Number 2, Smoked Barbecue Source, which of course is Joe Clement, a original New Zealander who now lives in Australia and has a massive website here and does a good job at updating content. He's gone ahead and contracted this guy here, Jeff Rice, or Ricer on YouTube to do. Jeff has actually turned into turned the career into doing grill reviews and a bunch of other product reviews if you follow his YouTube channel. So
no, he certainly has.
Yeah, no surprise here at number 2. And then, of course, number 1 is our pal Susie Bullock from Hey Grill Hey. And, of course, we know she's certainly mega popular, and she's been number 1 then for like the last 3 years in a row.
Yeah, probably closer to 4.
Yeah, and is it strong? Is she boat racing the field?
She's still way out there.
Yeah,
it's still a pretty strong lead. I mean, Smoked Barbecue Source has been hedging up. It's been gaining, but it hasn't been able to overtake. So, I don't know what will, I don't know what'll transpire in a year. I can make guesses, but
in a year from now, do you think that the top 5 will remain the same, or will there be more new than the same?
I think as long as they keep doing what they're doing, I don't see that there's going to be a ton of change in the top 5.
But we could see a new bottom 5.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think people are getting out of this blogging now that the pandemic's over and people are going back to whatever a normal life is or was?
Of all the sites that I kind of keep monitoring on, more than half haven't been updated in 6 months. So, yeah.
Got called back to the office.
Yeah, they got called back to the office. They went somewhere else. They didn't feel like they were getting any traction. They
got bored.
They got bored. They decided knitting was cool. People, I see that a lot. There are people who are like, this is everything. They blog for 2 years and then they're doing something entirely different 2 years later.
Yeah.
And in general, blogs don't have the popularity they did 10 years ago. I mean, there's kind of I mean, there's more social media. TikTok has certainly kind of killed a lot of stuff. YouTube has certainly been cutting into the topic space. All those podcasts, they're just ruining websites, that sort of thing. But
what's the best thing you're working on here that is going to be coming out here soon?
I did just put out a piece 2 days ago on like the food safety temperatures, like the meat cooking temperatures and why they're wrong.
Oh,
and
really?
why what you know about them is wrong.
Do you are you sciencely backed up on that?
Yeah, and I'm sciencely backed up from the people who created the rules in the first place.
Right. But by the way, for everybody listening, I just said sciencely. That is wrong. So don't use that tomorrow. Add it to the list, whatever you want to do. The show open, I was talking about words I've made up. So sciencely is definitely not a real word. We can make it one. That's right. Well, see, you used it right away. And
right,
I'm sure immediately people were like, oh, okay, well, sounded wrong.
Although
Eric immediately used it. He's smart.
I would use it as that sounds sciencely.
Yes, right. The sound of sciencely. It could be a new pun song that we work on. All right. DerekRiches.com is producing content over at DerekRiches.com. Read the new temperature, and then next month we'll talk about it and learn why we're wrong and how we get right.
All right.
All right. Have a great
Talk
4th.
To you then.
All right. See you.
You too. Bye.
Derek Riches. Derek is in luck because I will be back for a live show on that 4th Tuesday. It's the middle 11th and 18th that are either going to be best of or new pre-recorded content release. So we'll talk about all of that, or I'll keep you up to date on all of that. But Derek Riches at DerekRiches.com, and we are a little late, but well worth it. Again, from 1 to 10. HeyGrillHey.com, SmokedBBQSource.com, TheOnlineGrill.com, VinDulge.com, AmazingRibs.com, CatHeads, plural, BBQ.com, FoodFireFriends.com, GimmeSomeGrilling.com, or WhateverYouDo.com, and JustPriles.com. The 10 most popular barbecue and grilling websites right now. Agree, disagree, give me your favorite. Love to hear it. We'll add it. All right, we'll come back and wrap the first hour. We'll get an update on the YouTube poll question of the week and get ready for the second hour. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Derek Riches for joining us last segment. DerekRiches.com, his website, and I'll be as quick as I can about getting out of here. Smoking Joe's Pit Barbecue is writing in, I need help building a website. Anyone here that can help? Well, I can. Jottful.com, Jottful, Jottful.com is the website. That's who I use to make my sweet-ass new website. Joe, if you're really serious, let me know. Email me, and I'll make a connection with you and my Jottful representative, Natalie, and she might be able to help you out. If you're just being funny, work on comedy, because that's not a good joke. It's not fun. It's not fun. All right, we are pointing to the second hour. Refresh the libations, and we'll be back shortly. Stick around. We'll be right back.